Hello, welcome back to Becoming You Again. This is your host, Karen Nelson, and you are listening to episode number 128. Welcome to Becoming You Again, the podcast to help you with your mental and emotional well-being during and after divorce. This is where you learn to overcome the grief and trauma of your divorce. We're going to do that by reconnecting with yourself, creating lasting emotional resilience, and living a truly independent life so that your life can be even better than when you were married. I'm your host, Karen Nelson. I'm so excited for you to hear today's podcast episode. This is something that I have just recently decided to add into the podcast rounds. As you know, so many of my episodes are about tips and practical applications and things that you can actually do in your life to make it better, to feel better, to become a better human being. But a little while ago, I decided that I thought it would be really awesome to add in some personalized stories from other women who have gone through divorce and who are thriving. And so today is my very first episode where I have an interview just like that. I'm so excited for you to hear my interview with Amanda Davis. And what's really amazing is Amanda and I have kind of a surprise connection that you will hear about when you listen to the episode. But Amanda's story is so inspiring. She is an incredible human being, and her energy is so vivacious, so fun. She is absolutely thriving in her life, and I just can't wait for you to hear her story from her own mouth. I hope you enjoy and look forward to many more of these episodes coming up as we move forward with this podcast. So, enjoy. Welcome back to the podcast, my friends. I am so excited for you to hear from my guest today. Her name is Amanda Davis, and she is here to share her divorce story to all of y'all. And I am so excited that she is here doing this for us today. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, Karen. I'm going to do a tiny bit of a backstory just for your listeners.
Please do.
I want to tell them that we go so far back, and you guys
do.
Karen is so amazing. And I promise I seriously believe in the life before this. And I think we were like best friends in the same line. And we were just like, hey, we're going to be going through some same trials. So let's just be besties right off the start. But you guys, we go so far back. Literally, I was thinking about this. I remember going to elementary school with you, and you guys, every single recess that we got, we would be doing back handsprings.
Oh yeah, that was our thing.
That was me and Karen. And it's like we took gymnastics together, and all my greatest memories, like from childhood, seriously involve you. I just remember, I was even thinking about sleepovers that I used to have at your home. And oh my gosh, with your sisters, and we used to do these like dress up parties. And I'm sure your mom wanted to strangle us.
No, never, never.
We made a disaster of your house. So some of my greatest memories are with you. And I just think you are so amazing. And I'm sorry that we're both on this path, but I love sharing like our story to help other people. So
I agree. I agree with all of that. I appreciate that so much. First of all, I have so many amazing memories also. And it's funny that you have memories of sleeping at my house, because I have so many memories of us sleeping on your trampoline in the backyard. That was like the greatest thing for me. So I love it. And I agree, it is tragic in its own way that we have found ourselves in kind of the same situation pertaining to divorce in our kind of midlife. But also, I love that we both really want to help other women who are going through the same kind of struggle. And again, that is so why I appreciate so much your willingness to come on and share your story with all of my listeners out there, because I know that you are not the only one. I am not the only one. And there are so many other women out there who need to hear stories of resilience outside of divorce. So can you just share with us kind of your story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to kind of go back and start from the beginning a little bit. And I feel like I'm somewhat of a divorce expert, because this is actually my second divorce.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've done this 2 times, and each time was totally different, but I've gained so much perspective from both stories. So I'm just going to kind of start at the beginning, maybe just to kind of help women. I'm just going to tell them what I think I would have done different and try to maybe help them fix some of the mistakes I made.
I love it.
So,
Please do.
okay, so for starters, I got married way, way, way young. I turned like 21 on my honeymoon, and I like think back to that now because I have children that age. And I look at my girls and I like tell them every day, they're not married or dating anybody serious. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Like, you just don't really know yourself because you're so stinky young. But unfortunately, just kind of like the culture that I grew up in, which I'm not sad about because I'm grateful for all the lessons that I learned, but I just was way too young. Anyhow, got married, um, had these two beautiful girls, which I'm so thankful for every day. So I don't, regret that marriage for 1 second.
Oh, I need to just
But
pause right here because I've seen pictures of your daughters online and they look exactly like you, which I think is so fun. You are so beautiful and they are so beautiful. So I love it.
You're
Sorry
so
for that
cute.
little
Yes.
interjection.
No. And they are like my best friends. So I honestly can't imagine not having that marriage and having these beautiful girls. Well, anyway, so I was in that marriage for 7 years, and there were just a lot of problems. Pornography, um, just a lack of working, supporting the family. I did find out later, like a girlfriend did contact me, so I'm sure there was some unfaithfulness, whatever, all the things. Anyhow, so I got divorced from that, and I was feeling like my life was over because I thought,
Yeah.
who is honestly going to marry someone who has two little girls? And I was so down. Like my self-worth was like -0. I just felt so terrible about myself. And this is where I just want to let women know that it's so important. I cannot stress this enough. But you really, really, really need to take time after your divorce to reset, to find yourself, to connect with yourself, to really figure out what you're about and completely heal before you jump into a new relationship, because that's the mistake I made. So I was literally divorced for just a year, like a year to the date. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
Exactly. And I remember the date because it was my mom's birthday, but it was September 30th. My first husband left. We got divorced, and it was so easy. Like literally my divorce was final, I think in 3 months
Yeah.
from start to finish. And so I was divorced. I was the single mama. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So, I just jumped back into all the things. I went back to school. I started working immediately. I was juggling so many balls. And of course, I just didn't take time to heal. And I got set up on a date. I met this guy and, instantly fell in love. And he was proposing to me on the beach in Hawaii, like the next August 30th. So it was a whirlwind, and I just jumped in way too fast.
Yeah. So I think
And
that, let me ask you a question about that, because I think that's something that a lot of women do. They're hurting and they are seeking, and I don't know if this is your story, you'll have to tell me, but they're seeking that love and that validation and that feeling cherished and that feeling wanted and desired and taken care of.
absolutely.
And being someone who just got out of a 7-year marriage, has 2 little girls, is now going back to school, and knowing what it's like to go through a divorce, it can feel very heavy and scary, and you feel like your security maybe has been taken away from you in some ways.
For sure.
And so I think it's really easy for people to, when they find someone who is willing to offer them those things, maybe even if it's on the surface and we don't know, we jump at it, we grab for it, right?
Absolutely. So I for sure grabbed at the wrong thing. But once
And
again,
hindsight is always 2020, right? Like when you're in it, you're in it. You don't necessarily recognize what's really happening, what's really going on.
No, I didn't. And that's the thing too, is like also everybody around me was just so grateful for my happiness. Like they could just see how excited and I was just beaming inside, to be with this new guy that seemed so perfect and amazing. And I was just so in love. And I just did not take the time to find that for myself. Like, you have to give it to yourself first. Until you're complete, you really shouldn't be going out dating, trying to find it in somebody else. So that's my advice that I would definitely give. So I jumped into this second relationship, and right away we had a son. And then we had we got pregnant with twins, surprise.
Wow.
So I have 3 boys from my second marriage. And in life, it really did. It seemed so great. So I was married to him for like 13 years. And come to find out, he was completely living a double life.
You're kidding.
A full-on double life. Like, I found out later from friends that he had like multiple affairs, and I honestly had no idea. I just thought that like everything was so good because it did seem so good. And I think is what was happening is he was probably having affairs and then like coming home and kind of like love bombing me. And so it just felt so good, and everything seemed on the up and up. So I was completely blindsided when he told me that he was having an affair, and I didn't catch him or anything. I mean, he literally just told me one night. We were on a walk together, and he just said, you know, I could tell something was wrong, and I just said, you know, babe, what's wrong? And I didn't even know it, but it just kind of came out of my mouth. And he said, well, what do you think is wrong? And I said, I think you're cheating on me. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm having an affair. And that pain, it was just like I got punched in the gut, and I've never, I just wanted to collapse. Like, it was the most pain I've ever felt. And I remember asking him, do you love her? And he's like, yeah, I love her. And, I'm just like, how long have you known her? I've only known her for 6 weeks. And he just said, you know what? Something must have been wrong with our marriage, or this never would have happened. So he kind of just instantly put the blame on me. But
interesting.
Now that I know, and I'm as far as I am, this was actually, it's almost been 5 years from that day. And we're still kind of in the process. It's ridiculous. I mean, he was able to do a bifurcation. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it's where you make the divorce final. So in 2020, my divorce was final, but your finances and all the stuff isn't split by law. And so, of course, we went to court, and then he appealed it because he's a narcissist. Divorcing a narcissist.
I love the way you say that. You're just like, because the pause. He's a narcissist.
Yes. And so it's very different divorcing. Like, my first divorce was so easy because he wasn't. And then, dealing with the narcissist is a whole different ball game. But it's okay. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm on the other side. And honestly, I've never been happier. I know that's
I love
like
it.
Crazy to say, but
no, it's not.
I'm doing so good. Like, the kids are doing so good. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. I'm not dating anybody. I'm not doing anything, but I'm just like loving life, and like taking care of me, and just things are good. Things are really good. Things are good.
I think that's a message that more women need to hear, because so often, especially women who are raised in society today, we are kind of told that, like, that idea of, if there's a divorce, it's our fault. You're the one that's going to suffer. The men are going to be fine. You're the one that's going to probably end up with the kids. You're going to probably not have as good of an income. Obviously, I'm generalizing a lot of this because it's not every case, but a lot of the time that is the case. And so we have this idea that, like, divorce would be worse than death, literally, because what is my life going to be like outside of that? There's not going to be any happiness. Like, we have this idea that it's just going to be the most horrible thing ever. So to hear someone's perspective, because I feel the same way as you, like, I am way happier now than I ever was married. And it's crazy to say that. It's crazy to recognize that, but to hear it from other women as well, who have gone through the fire and come out the other side and are truly happy, are truly
Yeah,
living into themselves, are truly, you know, growing and evolving even more every single day into who they are, into the life that they want, and creating that for themselves. That is a beautiful thing. I
for
want to go
sure.
back to one thing that you mentioned when you said you and your husband were out on the walk. It was before he told you, and you said you just like hadn't really thought about it, but just came out with this thought of, I think you're having an affair. I think it's
Mhm.
so important for women to recognize their intuition and their inner knowing. Like maybe you
For sure.
hadn't really thought about that. I mean, tell me your experience with that. Have you kind of thought about that since, as like, I knew I maybe had a gut feeling, but we are told as women that our intuition is stupid, it's silly, it's emotional, it's
For
whatever,
sure.
right? And to discount it at all costs. And so when you stepped
Yes.
into that, tell me kind of that experience.
Okay, yes, for sure. Um, I know we so much are especially with myself, always kind of like second guessing ourselves.
Yes.
And I've always been so raised like to give people like the benefit of the doubt or kind of give them the second chance. Like, you never want to judge. Like that's just so embedded in me,
Yes.
growing up all along. And so it is crazy when you learn to tap in and listen to yourself and you just know, like, you're right, but we are so conditioned to disregard it. And it's kind of an awesome thing because I think women more than ever, we are like blessed with the gift of like intuition. Like we just innately have it and it is such a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I just want to remind your listeners like, listen, listen to
Yeah.
it. Do not second guess it because I'm telling you, more times than not, you are right. And guess what? The best thing about it is not having to explain it to anyone else.
Yes, it's just for you. And the more, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast, but the more you are connected with yourself in that way, the easier it is to recognize for yourself, this is my intuition, this is my knowing, and I can step into this. I can do whatever it feels right to me in that moment, whether it's taking up more space, voicing my opinion, doing what's right for me, making decisions based off of what's best for me instead of allowing these outside, influences to kind of
For
influence our
sure.
decision, influence our knowing. It's so
Yeah.
right. It's really tapping into
Yeah.
understanding and feeling that intuitive guidance.
For sure. And everybody also just has such a different experience. I mean,
Yes.
even my two divorces were so night and day different. So it's, people are going to give you their advice and judge you and tell you to do it a certain way, but you are going to know how to do what's best for you and your children. And any way you're doing it is not wrong.
Yeah.
It is not wrong. It is not wrong.
It's such a good message. I totally agree. It's something that, again, I'm going to repeat myself over and over because I talk about this a lot on the podcast as well. It's like I can teach you as many tools and tips and all of the things, and Amanda can give you all of the tips about what she's gone through, but nothing will feel right until you try it on for yourself, until you decide for yourself. Like we can tell you all of our experiences,
For
and
sure.
yet your experience is yours. Your decisions are yours. And whatever you decide is right for you. And we can't know what's better for,
For
I can't
sure.
know what's better for you. You can't know what's better for that person. Like it truly is an intuitive feel. And I
For
think
sure.
that's an important point to make. Like,
For
so
sure.
thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think there are definitely like universal things too that help. Like I always tell people just like a couple tips that I have, and they're so easy. But this is what I tell like when girls tell me right away, like, I'm getting a divorce, I'm like, okay, these are like my top five. My number one, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm like, instantly start drinking more water. Like put water by your nightstand all night long, drink it in the morning, drink it just anytime you think you can drink water, just start double downing on your water intake. Another thing that I think is just amazing and I swear it has saved my life, every single morning I go on a walk and I meet up. Actually, I mean, if you can meet up with girlfriends, I do. I meet up with girlfriends. I mean, that's a bonus point, But even if you just go on a walk by yourself and just have time to clear your mind and space or
Mm.
whatever, it it has made all the difference. And another thing that has seriously blessed my life, I have a life coach. So everybody, so if people are calling or start calling, it just helps to have somebody to check in with
Totally agree.
weekly and be able to vent and just get rid of all your icky stuff. And it's so awesome when you can do it with a life coach instead of like your family. It's kind of like over your story. And
Yes.
they're just like, seriously, you're still having a problem at the weekend football games? And you're like, yeah, because he brought his girlfriend and it still triggers me. So it's the best to have somebody just to talk it through. So water, walking, life coach. And then actually I'm going to share something that I just learned this weekend which blew my mind and I went to a speaker. I feel so bad cuz I don't even remember his first name, but his last name is Morley and he wrote a book called Counterfeit Emotions. I
Mm.
haven't read it yet, so I'm going to definitely look into it so maybe I could report back after I read that. But Counterfeit Emotions, it kind of tags along a lot of with like the Brene Brown,
Mhm.
like the guilt versus shame, the good
Yes.
emotions versus bad emotions. But anyway, in his little speech that he was giving, he kind of said the number one thing, that women struggle with, and especially me, is he was saying we are so often living in like victim, right? So we continually say, um like he did this to me, like my
Right.
ex cheated on me, my ex doesn't pay his alimony, my ex doesn't pick up the kids on time, all the things that they do, right? And you continually repeat those. And then somebody in the group was raising their hand and they said, you know these things did happen to us, like what do we say besides these things did happen to us? And he
Yeah.
goes, you start saying this happened for me.
Mm.
And I just left that meeting thinking, you know what? I just started pondering on all the things that happened for me in this divorce. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm out of an abusive relationship. I never have to wonder, where my husband's at or who he's sleeping with or if he's gonna come home. Like all the things. I'm totally set free. And what a blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
So just a reminder just to think, like if we can, instead of living in victim, we live in victor.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love all. And did you have a number 5? Because I want to talk about these after you've said
Okay,
your
okay.
things.
Okay, so yes, my water, my walking. Okay. Oh, I guess I would say my number 5 would just be like continuing your education. You know what I mean? Never stop looking for ways to heal. And like to tag on number 5, also go and help other women. Like
Mhm.
donate your time, go to lunch with them, befriend them, have women gatherings. And I do that often. And every time I meet with like all these divorced women, I leave and my cup is totally filled.
I love it. These are all amazing. So I just want to make comments about all these because I love every single tip that you've given to women. And I think for sure, if you can fit these into your life, if you can envelop them and start to take them on as beliefs for yourself, it's only going to add and empower you to live the most amazing life after divorce. Water. I don't know if you know much about chakras, and I'm just learning a tiny bit about, so I'm probably going to get all of this wrong. So everyone who knows everything about chakras, I'm sorry. I'm just going off of memory of like the one class that I took, but there was I think it was the chakra, and I don't remember which part of the body, but there is one that is represented in water. And I think that it's like shadow chakra is guilt, which makes so much sense to me that if you empower yourself by drinking lots and lots of water, it can help you recognize how so much of what's going on in your life is not your fault. Even though
Mhm.
we as women often will take on that mantle and just tell ourselves, if only I had done this, if only I had been more, if only I had whatever the story is, and we will guilt trip ourselves and kind of gaslight ourselves into thinking that it was something that we did that created the situation. I'm not saying that's never the case. I'm not saying we don't have our own responsibility in things, but when we take the full mantle, it's a hard thing to do. And I think there is something to be said about energy within our body and adding in water as an energy to help you wash through that. I think that's a beautiful thing. Now, number 2, remind me what number 2 was. Going for a walk. Yes. Going for a walk, 100%. Being out in nature just in and of itself is a way of grounding yourself. And the more you can ground yourself in the present moment, it's such a healing thing. And I was like you, I still go for a walk almost every single day. But when I was going through my divorce, especially, walks every day was my moment to like reconnect with myself, to really just be with my thoughts. Sometimes I would cry if that's what I felt like I needed to do. Sometimes I would dance out to like crazy, amazing music, whatever I felt like I really needed to hear. And sometimes it was just literally just being out in nature. And like you said, you can go with friends, bonus, amazing. So I totally agree. Some kind of movement outside, especially in the nature, such a great thing. Healing. Number 3, was it the guy that the book? The man that you talked about, what was number 3? I should have wrote these down, which I was thinking about as you were speaking.
Okay. Yes, I think I started talking about, life coach, girl. Number 3
was life coach. I don't know how I forgot that.
Yes.
I mean, I think you're right. And of course I'm biased because I am a life coach, but I have my own life coach. It's not like I only life coach other people. I also have a life coach. So I'm going to like walk the walk and talk the talk, right? I'm not just going to like get out there and say, everybody needs a life coach and then not actually have one.
It's good. Somebody in your corner and somebody that's a couple steps ahead of you.
Yes.
Makes all the difference. Like it is awesome because they know your feelings. It's like when you share it, you instantly know.
Yes. And the point that you were making about not always having to take it to your friends and your family who are kind of like over it sometimes, right? Like your family and your friends love you. They do. But also they don't have the same experiences that you've had. They're seeing things from their perspective of watching you go through these things. And it's much harder for our family and friends to kind of hold space in the ways that we need to when we are trying to heal from divorce, trauma, grief, all of the things. And I agree. That is why going to a life coach, a therapist, like you pick, but of course I'm more biased toward a life coach just because to me, life coaches are like, let me hold the space for you. Let's heal. And also let's take you into the future. Let's take you like,
I could not
out of
agree
the past
more.
And move you forward.
I totally agree because I think nothing against therapists, like I have no bad things, but I think a life coach pushes you forward instead of, hey, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about your pain. I mean, you do that a little bit with a life coach, but a life coach is like, hey, how can we get you out of this? And how can we get moving forward? And that's the momentum that you need. You want to go forward.
Absolutely.
So,
and then number 4, you talked about this is happened for you in your life, the man that you listened to. I totally agree. Like we get to define the experiences in our life however we want. And it's totally okay for you to be a victim. There's a time and a place for that, especially when you were a victim at times, right? Like
for sure.
If you have experienced abuse, you were a victim in those moments. Like, and whatever abuse can take on so many different forms, but
for
like
sure.
Things happen to you, and it's not to discount those things that have happened to you, not to discount those experiences. But with hindsight, that's when you get to define what those things mean to you, mean for you. And so I love this idea of this has happened for me. Like for me personally, I would not, like, I don't regret any of the choices that I made. I don't regret any of the things that have happened to me. I don't even look at them as like, yes, they were hard and difficult and challenging. And I don't think I would wish a lot of the things that I went through on anyone else. And yet I am where I am today because of those experiences. Absolutely. And I love where I am today. I love the person that I am. I love the person that I'm becoming, the person that I'm evolving into every single day. And I love that. And from what you said, it sounds to me like you would agree with a lot of that sentiment of like, you are who you are today, you are where you are today because of these things have happened for you.
Yes. So just to give your listeners like hope that are at the beginning, I promise, like it gets better. Like it actually gets so much better than you can imagine.
Yes, I totally agree. And when you're in the thick of it, sometimes it's hard to have that belief, right? When you're in the thick of the roller coaster of emotions and the trying to figure out the certainty of something that is so uncertain, the certainty of the future, the certainty of the relationship of your kids, of trusting that things are going to be okay. It can be a difficult thing to hear, but also it's one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on. It was to offer hope. My podcast listeners hear my voice all the time, and I tell them these things all the time, but it's so nice to have other women on here who are reinforcing this idea that it does get better. You will get through this. You are strong. You can do this, and your life can be so much better after.
Yeah, you are so much stronger than you know. And it's kind of like working out, right? Like that muscle's not going to build until you rip it, until it's hard. That's when you grow. And when you look back on your growth, you're just like, wow. And it's good to look back and look at your gains that you've, the accomplishments that you've made. And you literally,
that's
a
great analogy. I love it. Well, Amanda, is there anything else that you want to tell my listeners about divorce, whether it be your experience, your favorite thing, any successes, anything else that you want to leave with them on a high note?
I just want to tell them that they are not alone. Welcome to the singles club. It can be so fun. It can be so fun. And it's just kind of a different stage of life, but there's so much goodness in it. And, I'm just having the best time with my kiddos right now. And, I get to spend so much time with them and one-on-one time. And, when they're with their dad on those weekends, I get to soak up like girlfriend time and personal time. And, it's not all bad. I got to tell them it's not all bad, and they can do hard things, and they got this. They totally got this.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Amanda, thank you so much for being here. Is there anywhere you want to send people if they want more information about you? I know you talk about working a lot with divorced women. Can you kind of direct them either to your Instagram or wherever you want to direct them?
They can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is just amanda.davis24. And we can connect and hang out and do all the things, but better yet, they should be calling you, girl, because you have all the professional training, and it is so good to get somebody to help you. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hi friend, I'm so glad you're here and thanks for listening. I wanted to let you know that if you're wanting more, a way to make deeper, more lasting change, then working one-on-one with me as your coach may be exactly what you need. Together, we'll take everything you're learning in the podcast and implement it in your life with weekly coaching, real life practice, and practical guidance. To learn more about how to work with me one-on-one, go to KarenNelsonCoaching.com. That's www.KarenNelsonCoaching.com. Thanks for listening. If this podcast agreed with you in any way, please take a minute to follow and give me a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. And for more details about how I can help you live an even better life than when you were married, make sure and check out the full show notes by clicking the link in the description.